All right, guys, how's it going? Eastbayanglers out here. We're talking all about crankbaits today. We're talking crankbaits, bass fishing, crankbaits, freshwater crankbaits, all around, all game fish, target, all game fish will hit a crankbait. I've caught large panfish, I've caught catfish, I've caught trout, and I've caught bass, which is primarily what I'm targeting. But if you're in the area, you're in muskie land, you're in pike walleye land, you're in those, you got that going on. Those will smash these, and yeah, it's not gonna look pretty after they get done with it, if you even get it back. So here's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna talk the best companies for crankbaits. These are the companies, and we're going to talk some of the crankbaits that we actually prefer by the companies that we, basically stand by. So number one, we're going to go into one of the higher end. We're just going to start with two of my favorite. I mean, I like to fish these more than, well, there's about 4 companies in here. 5 I'll fish, for the most part, most of the time. But first one, we're going to talk about Zoom. Zoom Bait Company makes some really nice handmade balsa, handcrafted crankbaits that are absolutely phenomenal. They're also absolutely insanely priced and impossible to get. It's not worth the money in general to get these Zoom crankbaits because, in my opinion, they do tend to only last for so long before the bills will break, and for that kind of money, it's just not worth it. So the Zoom are probably the best square bill, or maybe even the best crankbait on the market that's a balsa, handmade. They're just so expensive. So let's talk about the second company. Same deal. These are handcrafted balsa wood. I think there's 212 or 224 steps or something insane. It might even be more steps than that in order to create this one crankbait. So custom pH lures. That makes some phenomenal crankbaits, and some of the best days in the early run of my bass fishing career, I was fishing a lot of custom pH stuff and just doing great things. Love their square bills. I love their peat. They've got a pistol peat. No, it's got can't remember the name of that, but they've got their version of a whopper plopper, which is really, it's called plopper something, but it's a really great bait, and they've just got so many really high quality handcrafted balsa wood baits, and they're a bit more priced, reasonably priced. So you can get them for $25, $30. Zoom, you're spending anywhere from $40 to $60. So let's talk about affordable crankbaits for a moment. Like for the average guy who just wants to go and get some good crankbaits, the Strike King XDs have been phenomenal. The square bills, have been phenomenal. But if I had to say I, just wanted one of the Strike King crankbaits in my box, I'd want the XDs, whether it be, the XD5 or the XD10 or 11. Those are phenomenal fish catching baits. They're going to get you on big fish. Obviously, the square bills are going to get you on numbers, but those other ones are going to get you on the big giants. So it's up to you guys what you want to do. Those are extremely reasonably priced, all the way from $5.99 to $7.99, and you can get them on sale on the holidays, so keep that in mind. The next company we're going to talk about is another company that's extremely affordable. So going from too high end to too lower end, or not lower end, but I guess considering these are all the top of the top. So Rapala. Rapala makes a couple crankbaits that are extremely good. They've got a lipless. It's a lipless crankbait version. Their version, it's extremely good, and it is more so, in my opinion, I like to yo-yo it and jig it, and I do a lot better using it in that fashion and form than I do as a lipless crankbait to just crank back. That's just my experience with that particular, you know, crankbait. I've had other crankbaits that I've used by Rapala, like the X-Wrap shads. I'm not a fan of those. Don't even waste your time. And I've also used one that I really like. It's the CNC, the Crackling Crank. Those are really good. The Fat Wrap shads by Rapala are really good. The Countdown, the CDs are really good by Rapala. Everybody knows their stick bait minnows, their floaters will catch just about anything that swims. They're getting less and less effective in certain areas just because of how many are being made and how many people are throwing them. So Rapala makes a variety of crankbaits that are extremely effective. We just named a few. The next company we're going to talk about is going to be Megabass. Now, Megabass makes some crankbaits that are extremely expensive, but they're kind of like cutting edge, new age tech fishing lures. It's incredible, groundbreaking industry in Japan that they're kind of like revolutionizing lures, in my opinion, and doing stuff a lot different. That doesn't mean their baits are better. It just means that they're really putting a lot of time and money and effort into these concepts, designs, and all these different ways to make different baits. So those are pretty expensive, but the paint jobs are insane. Another company we're going to talk about is going to be Spro. You know, Spro is one of those companies where if you're throwing a Spro crankbait, I can't recommend anything other than the Little John, and that thing is just phenomenal. That's all I can say about that. Spro, very good. You know, Spro Frogs, Spro Little John. Those are my two favorite lures by Spro. Those are the two lures I have the most of by Spro. I don't, you know, carry everything by Spro because it's just not all as effective. So the next company we're going to talk about, you guys have probably been waiting for, Lucky Craft. Lucky Craft has got a lot of crankbaits. Let me tell you, I'm a real big fan of their LV. You know, they've got the LV. No, it's not the LV. It's like it's their lipless crankbait version. It's similar to the LV for oh yeah. Well, what am I saying? There's the LV 500 for Lucky Craft, which is an exceptional bait, but there's also another crankbait, lipless crankbait they sell that's really good, and it's a deeper diving crankbait. I can't remember the exact, it might be LVR or something like that, but it's a deep diving lipless crankbait by Lucky Craft, and those two are my favorite. You know, the LV 500 and that deep diving lipless. So I mean, in general, you can get those square bills. I've bought square bills. Like, I'm just not that impressed with their square bills. Much more effective when you buy their lipless crankbaits, LV 500, than the other one I just mentioned. So Lucky Craft is a great company, and you know, they're a bit pricey. So that's the one thing about them that you know, kind of bums me out. 6 Cents is the next company we're going to talk about, and you know, they haven't been around as long as a lot of these other companies, but they are making their way fast and making their mark. They are really good crankbaits at a good price for the all-around fisherman who wants to get high-end tackle that's really good, but not pay incredibly ridiculous prices. So 6 Cents is a good company for crankbaits if you guys haven't used any of those. The next company that we're going to go ahead and talk about is going to be Storm. I mean, it shouldn't even be number 9, but it is, just because they're not in any particular order. But Storm is a wonderful crankbait company. It's a great company in general for plastics and crankbaits, but I personally think they've done much more in the hard bait world than they have in the soft bait world. But that's just my opinion. I think we're going to talk today about what storm baits really stand out. And some of the storm baits that everybody's on the tournament trail throwing are these old wiggle warts, pre-Rapala from the 80s and late 70s, and these are pretty much mainly in the 80s. A lot of companies came and went, or a lot of lures came and went and were discontinued. Companies, you know, got shut down or merged or bought out by other competition. It was a very crazy time in the 80s for bass fishing. And what I know is that when you're thinking about a crankbait from the 80s, you know, it's all messed up. You think, well, how good could it be? It's good enough to where people are paying big money for them online, anywhere from 50 to 150 to get the right color and go out there, put their own split rings and brand new hooks on it, and make sure they tune it, obviously, when they're pre-tournament fishing. So it's one of those things, guys. Get yourself a Storm Wiggle Wart pre-Rapala. Experience it for yourself. It's got a unique action, and it's an old school balsa made lure, but it was made in a factory, but it's definitely unique. Another one that's just incredible for Storm is they have some square bills, some Storm has some square bills that are really good. They're called the Arashi. I really like the bills. I really like the bills. I like the look, the eyes. I like the action. They're really good. So if you guys haven't tried those out, those are definitely hot. So the last thing we're going to talk about, the last company brand you need to check out is Excalibur. Now this company is no longer, to my knowledge, they're no longer around, but I mean they could be, because every day the companies that have disappeared or went under are coming back to life because other fishermen love their products so much that they just couldn't let it go. So seriously. So, you know, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We're just trying to help you guys, put you guys on, you know, in general, crankbaits that work, and, well, companies that make crankbaits that work, and the type of crankbaits that are really good by those companies. And don't forget, guys, 4 core colors is all you need. You need a basic bait fish color. I don't care if it's all white or if it's got colors in it and it's kind of like a shad, or if it's a little bit like in that, I'm trying to think, but, well, basically, you just need a bait fish minnow shad pattern, one of those. You need a craw color. You need a gill. And you're gonna need something that resembles a frog. Other than that, you really don't need a whole lot.